Well, the boats are stacked up and the fans are here to watch hydroplane racing, and they have already seen a week's worth of excitement in about a 12-second period of time here on the course at Stan Sayers Pits. Steve Rabel with you, along with Mike Fitzsimmons, Pat O'Day at the start-finish line, racing great and legend Chip Hanauer here with me on the tower in the pits. And we've had our first accident already that has, at least for the moment, washed out Heat 2A. We'll get back to that in a moment. Heat 2B, however, will be run before that, and Greg England is in the pits with more. Greg?
Yeah, I'm down here in the M-Core pits with Mike Weber, the co-driver, really, of this M-Core boat. Of course, you got hurt early this year, so Nate takes over. What goes through your mind? I know you know Nate very well when you see that boat going up like that.
Well, you know, first thing you say is Nate okay? And he got himself out. That's the most important thing, which means that he was alert, and obviously everything was functioning pretty good, arms and legs and all that stuff. We're getting mixed reports on the damage to the boat. Sounds like it's pretty extensive. I was at the other end and saw it, and the way it hit upside down like that, it usually does a lot of damage. But right now we're more worried that Nate's okay and boats can be fixed.
Talk about this crew, because they've had to work on this boat and do some turnarounds. I know you had some trouble in Madison, and it's been that kind of year for these guys.
What do you want to touch on?
Yeah, between the two of us, we tore up all kinds of stuff. It's just,
it's okay. I mean,
you know, with the Gold Cup, that kind of got everybody going again, because we have had some bad luck and tore some stuff up. And I tell you, these guys have worked 24 hours a day for way too many weeks, and unfortunately, we're going to have to call them into action again. But we've got the backup boat if we need it. I suspect we're done for the weekend. I can't say that for sure, but we got a great team. Guys work hard. They love the sport, and we'll come back from it.
As a driver, with the wind conditions we're having out here, how does this rate for some of the wind conditions you've seen in the past? It seems to be pretty strong.
It is, but you know, Sunday at Seafair usually throws challenges at you, and everybody's got to race in the same circumstances and the same conditions, and you've got to be able to dial the boat in for it. And then, unfortunately, this one got away from us. When that boat comes in here, what's the first thing this crew does, and how fast will you know if you're going to be able to get that back on the water or not? They're saying that it looks like the boat's broken half. So if there's that visible damage on the bottom of the boat, you know the top side's going to be a lot worse. The most important thing right now is get it right side up, evaluate the safety equipment, make sure that everything worked the way it should work, and then you start assessing damage and figuring out where you go from there. But it's really too soon to say. All right, Mike, thanks for your help, and thanks for your time today. My pleasure. All right, the M-Core team going to check out this boat just as soon as it comes back here to the docks, guys.
Greg, thanks. And it looks like they're literally trying to hold it together with baling twine right now just to get it back into the pits area. Meantime, we have now an official call. By the way, we're going to show you where that boat is. It's a long way from here, so they've got a ways to go to bring it in, and they will not race before they get that thing out of the way. But let's go back to Chip for a second. We have now got an official word. There will be no infraction assessed to Terry Troxell. So in other words, by the officials looking at more than likely our pictures, they see that he had enough distance between himself and Nate, and that he could start to close down.
But Pat brought up a good point. He did get wet, but getting wet doesn't necessarily mean it was an illegal move. The rule says it's 5 boat lengths. The problem with that is there's still a lot of water there in 5 boat lengths. So Terry was, you know, legally in a position to come across, although it left Nate no place to go. What Nate needed to do is perhaps look ahead and say, this looks like it's going to go away from me. And at that point, you got to get out of the throttle and say, it's better to fight another day and move out.
Now, will that save you? I mean, you get out of the throttle enough, and you might obviously come off a plane, certainly, but you'll just have to slow down so much.
Yeah, you know, if Nate had to do over again, he probably would have looked ahead. I mean, hindsight and gone, you know, I think I'll just move out to the right here and go out into lane 3. So, you know, Terry's not at fault. In an elimination heat, you kind of tend to want to give the guy more room than you really need. It's just what they say in racing. It's just one of them racing things.
One of them racing things. Hey, Mike, by the way, as we talk about this, and this was, again, caused by more than likely the wind as well as the rooster tail, but this course that we see here along Lake Washington gets rougher as the day goes on. We've talked about it every year we've been here, because you got that log boom out there, right? That the waves start rolling back at you as the day goes on.
That's exactly the case. And what's really interesting about the log boom is that it rises and falls, and it heaves these big parallel rollers across the riding surface down that back chute. And that just aggravates the whole thing. This is an ensemble accident that we had here. It had to do with the fact that Terry left him you know, had enough boat space to get across and actually close the door, which he did. It had to do with those parallel rollers. It had to do with riding up the rooster tail, as Chip explained. The wind actually was just the last straw. It just finished it. And that's the way that worked. Now, I'm looking at this race boat, folks, and I got to tell you that with the flotation where they've placed it amidships, I have a feeling that when they say the boat was broken in half, it really was. It appears to have been broken. They've got flotation under the midship section of the boat, which would be roughly where the engine is located, and I don't think you're going to see this one back.
You know, one thing that's been interesting, Mike, is the mistakes that we've seen made yesterday, because remember we had heats yesterday and today, have not been the rookies. We've seen the, you know, the old veterans making mistakes, hitting buoys, lane encroachments. Now we got a boat upside down. So far, it's early in the day, but the rookies have been the ones keeping their nose clean.
And we still have a lot of racing yet to go. There is, as you can see, just a portion of the boat, the Miss M-Corps, that's being brought back in a paper sack. And
that's the wing, I believe.
I believe it is. And we'll have much more on the M-Corps and Nate Brown and this accident and more racing to boot. Stand by. We're live from the shores of Lake Washington with the Chevrolet Cup at Seafair. Let's go racing. Heat 2B is coming up here in just a few moments, and here are the headlines for this race. And there's the man, Dave Vilwach, the Budweiser boat, an easy winner yesterday. What about today? The young and the hungry. J.W. Myers, one of them in the Lumar boat. Rookie drivers abounding and winning in a surprise. The Beacon boat, Heat 1A. What'll happen today? Coming up, Heat 2B.
Heat 2B of the Chevrolet Cup at Seafair is brought to you by Netscape, low-cost internet service. Netscape, just the net you need. And is presented for Seafair by Tide. If it's got to be clean, it's got to be Tide.
Let's give you the rundown of the boats now in Heat 2B. There's the Budweiser boat, the U1, the Lumar window film, the Silver Dollar Casino, Miss Rock, Miss Beacon Plumbing, and the U00 Skyway Park Bowl and Casino. We've got a little extra time to talk about this race, and of course the conversation on everybody's mind is Nate Brown and the M-Corps. But as we continue to set this race, we'll be talking about what just happened a few moments ago, and as they try to clear the course, we've got lots of time, and the water is still choppy, the wind is still blowing. So let's talk about these boats and those boats set up for this kind of win, and probably no team better. No team certainly has the equipment like the Budweiser team. Dave Vilwach, champion many times over here in Seattle, Chip.
Well, Dave, like the other drivers, after what they just saw, I think that's a big reminder too. This is an elimination heat. I'm just going to get through it. I don't think we're going to see any heroics from Dave Vilwach today.
Bill Rocky is following the Bud in the pits. Any special instructions to the pilot down there, Bill?
Well, as you know, Dave likes this rough water, and he was telling us all week he was hoping it was rough as it could be. I talked to him about the accident out there, and he said that he learned a couple things about. He watched what we had on there, and he learned a couple things, and so I think he's comfortable with these conditions and what the situation is as far as him driving.
Well, certainly no team is better prepared for any eventuality than the Budweiser team. Here we go. Here's the U8. This is the Lumar window film, and this is a guy that, Mike, is one of the real up-and-comers in this business, J.W. Myers.
Boy, sure is, and he did not do well in his first heat yesterday, and given the conditions out here, he has a bit of pressure on him because he's got to serve some kind of notice to the so-called faster boats to beat that he's in the hunt. And he's going to have to do it in this particular heat. So there's a bit of a monkey on the back of J.W. Myers in this one.
The Unlimited Rookie of the Year just a year ago. The U-25 boat, the Silver Dollar Casino, Miss Rock, and Dr. Ken Muscatel. We talk about him, the world's fastest forensic psychologist. Chip?
You know, I think Ken, along with everybody else, needs to just remember these points that they're gathering right now are just to get them to the final. There's no money at stake here, so I think you're going to see Ken, like the other drivers, just be very conservative.
Greg England is in that pits, and Greg, they don't have a lot of parts on that team, so they really do have to take care of this boat, don't they?
They do, and in fact, Ken's worried about the wind out there. He told me this morning during testing his right sponson was floating up along the back stretch there. In Ken's words, it's ugly out there.
Well, there are days that it's never pretty out on Lake Washington when it comes to boat racing. Here's the U99, the Beacon Plumbing. I love their saying, stop freaking, call Beacon. And the Steve Hook, again, another one of those young, exciting drivers.
What I really liked about the way Steve Hook drove his first heat on Lake Washington yesterday was that he let the race come to him. He worked the angles, if you will, kept the pressure on, but didn't overdrive his race boat and waited for circumstances to unfold in his favor. That's a sign of a smart driver.
And finally in this heat, the U00, the Skyway Park Bowl and Casino, Doug Brow at the controls. We'll see how he manages to handle. Didn't have a lot of speed yesterday. We'll see how he handles these choppy waters as well. And as we continue to let these boats now start to pull away from the pits, work their way out to the course. Pat O'Day, we've seen some exciting racing already, almost a full lap of it.
Fred Leland loves a heat like this because Fred calls his boats his barges. He builds them to stay in the water, and they may have an advantage. We're talking about Doug Brow. He's been scrounging around Friday Harbor all week, getting financial help from people to be in this race today, from Kings Market and everybody up there. So it's fun to see these rookies out there on the course and the effort that has gone into this race.
I think, Mike, for those folks like you who've seen most all these races, it's interesting to note that the boats are something different in almost every stop that they make along the way.
It's absolutely the case, and that's what makes it all so much fun. About 13 different businesses up there, Friday Harbor, put their decal on Doug's boat this afternoon. And
Doug strong arms everybody on Main Street.
Yeah, he was very successful. Well, anyway, let's now watch as we have a little bit of time to see this unfold. This is the dicing time. And it's particularly interesting because of the weather conditions here. Folks don't want to be real fast and on the outside. That's just not a good place. Even if you have to be a little bit slower, Chip, and on the inside, that's a little safer.
Yeah, and let's remember, you do have to go faster on the outside simply because you have a farther distance to go. So being on the inside, you can be a little more conservative, where if you're on the outside, you got to wring that boat out for everything you can, and we saw what the result of that can be.
And so that means that as we watch the second year of the sophomore driver, J.W. Myers, who has so much promise, as he's got boat speed to burn with this boat and has had in the past and has demonstrated some real strength as a shoe out there. He's going to be watching Dave Villwalk, and Dave is moving up to the upper half of the race course right now. And right away, you see J.W. there making his way up to join Dave Villwalk. I think he's going to keep an eye on Dave. In fact, right now, he's gone to the inside of the course to try to keep Dave outside of him.
And I really don't understand that. I never wanted to show my hand what I was going to do to get the inside until the final heat. And I don't know that that's what JW is doing. But right now is the time to just let the other guy do what he wants to do. Find a lane that comes to you. Don't force an issue. Just take a lane that's open, get the points, get into the final, and then throw everything you have at them.
Now they're scrambling in the infield right now, and they played a little guessing game with each other. And watch them if we have the camera on them, as Villwalk's still trying for that #1 slot. And JW wants to get inside him. I don't know if he's going to be able to or not.
But let me tell you a little story. These guys tried this over in Tri-Cities, and Dave Villwalk gave JW a schooling. And JW didn't forget it. He's going to still think, now he's going to make a left turn, I think, down here and try to get inside Dave, who may go all the way around the buoys. They're in the DMZ, so they'll all have to go around now.
What you just saw there was Jack Brow dead in the water there. He went down about 30 seconds ago. I didn't see anybody near him. It must be just a mechanical failure.
Yeah, he's in the infield, and he's off the field of play, so to speak, although the wind is a factor and could push him into the course. But he's inside at the moment, and the officials are aware that he's there, and they're going to watch him carefully. Well, now the boats are actually in not a bad position at all, Chip, as they make their back chute run down to the last arc for the start.
Right. What you want to do is you want to be coming out of the south turn at about 1 minute. And you're right, Mike, they're right at 1 minute. They want to be heading into the north turn, the entrance of the north turn, at right around 30 seconds. And I think they're right on schedule for that.
And you'll notice that Muscatel has decided he wants the inside lane again. As you remarked yesterday, Muscatel doesn't usually do that. He's got confidence in this boat, but he also knows about that wind, and it was picking up his sponson, so he's thinking, hey, I'm going to try to get a fast start here and to get out of trouble as quickly as possible.
I'm beginning to think Ken Muscatel needs a psychologist, because he's driving more aggressively than I've ever seen him. He needs therapy, that man.
Right away, he is, and this is a sign. I'll tell you, over in Tri-Cities, he looked really, really strong. And then he had a gearbox problem, and he was out of it. And unfortunately, that robbed him of what could have been a great day. He's got a good arc there, and his timing is good.
It's going to be a good start.
I think it is. Got some speed out on the outside now. It's going to be Steve Hook in that Beacon Hill Plumbing where he must start because of the rules. Muscatel on the inside. Next to him, that's Miss Budweiser. The Lumar, the yellow boat, the center screen, the green boat on the outside is the Beacon Plumbing. And here they come down to the start. It's a good, clean start. And Dave Villwalk and J.W. Myers hooking up.
You know, that's the way a start should be done. They got to the boat instead of crawling up there with no speed. These guys got on the throttles early. They hit the boat line or the starting line with a lot of boat speed, and that's the way a start's supposed to be.
Okay, everybody got through that corner without getting winded too badly, but the Budweiser did get some air under it, and Dave Villwalk up the back chute. Look at Muscatel on the inside also. He's in there as well on the inside of the Budweiser, and JW is working him from the outside. We got a good boat race going in this upper corner.
We do, and you know what's been interesting is Dave Villwalk seems to be getting the inside whenever he wants it. He did it yesterday. He was in the second lane today. So these guys have got to find a way to move Dave to the outside if they're going to beat the Miss Budweiser. As I said yesterday, you don't beat the Budweiser from the outside.
Budweiser, your leader, has come down to get the mark of the first lap at 137.680 miles an hour. Great battle between J.W. Myers and Ken Muscatel right now for second place. A great battle. The two of them are just neck and neck, and there's a wake between them. J.W. is going to pinch down just a little bit. There's a risk in doing that because he has to ride the slop from the Budweiser.
I have never seen Ken Muscatel drive like this. He did it yesterday. He's doing it again today. This is a Ken Muscatel that I've never seen, and I have a feeling about Ken that maybe this is his last year, and I think he's really going to put a lot into it this year to make a statement.
He's got a lot of air under the boat as he comes up that back chute at the present time. The Budweiser with a commanding lead, Muscatel and JW side by side. Great looking pictures from KIRO as you see those two boats just rocket into that north corner, and they are bouncing around on those waves. Oh, Dave, this looks great.
And in the back of the pack, we have one Mr. Hook starting to reel him in. He's getting closer and closer, but you're right, Muscatel's driving the race of his life right here.
And you know, the thing that Ken's got to deal with now, because he's inside and Dave's out front, Ken Muscatel is running in the water of the Budweiser. You see the wake right here? Well, that's the water that Ken Muscatel has to run into that JW doesn't. See, JW now can go outside of that wake. Well, actually, he's running right. They're both getting inside of it. But again, I'm flabbergasted. I have never seen Ken Muscatel drive like this.
He is driving well. He truly is. And on the outside, J.W. Myers, he is trying to keep him in the sights. J.W. has more boat speed down the back chute right now. As you see from the outside, he's got maybe a boat length lead, but the inside track, of course, the shorter way around the race course. Now J.W. is making a nice move. Oh, and Ken has struck a buoy. Ken has struck a buoy, but it does not look like he dislodged it. We'll see what happens with that. But J.W. pushed him inside just a little bit, and now we've got a great drag race for the start-finish line.
You know, and the rule on that is you can touch a buoy, you can move a buoy, but you can't dislodge the buoy. If you hit the buoy such that it is no longer a course marker, then you're disqualified. But apparently he didn't hit it that hard.
The buoy is all right, say the officials. Muscatel is still legal out there, and he's got a great battle going with J.W. Myers through that lower corner. Look at those two boats side by side. Out front, of course, Miss Budweiser on her way to another checkered flag. And here's Ken Muscatel putting the pedal to the metal. J.W. has got some boat speed, too, and he's not going to let that go by. Here he comes now. He draws alongside. What a great battle up into the north corner now.
I'm just amazed. And Ken not only is driving well, but he looks like he's got a boat that's handling very well. And you can't drive aggressive unless you got a boat that'll take care of you. Boy, it's going to be close, Mike. What do you think?
It is going to be close, and we'll see. Here's the checkered flag for Miss Budweiser. She'll take the win, but let's see if Ken Muscatel can hold off J.W. Myers. They are virtually side by side right now. Myers puts the foot down, and it looks like he'll nose out Ken Muscatel at the start-finish line by a couple of boat lengths.
Wow, a really well done race by both drivers. They didn't interfere with each other. JW tightened it up on him. He made him, you know, hold his arc. He didn't just give him the whole corner, but they both did a great job. The Budweiser, I don't know, they just don't look like a boat that qualified only fifth. I mean, they really look like they're running well, and they're going to be tough to beat. And as I said earlier, you're not going to beat the Budweiser running like this from the outside. These drivers, all of them, as a group, have got to figure out how to get Dave to the outside at the start.
And when it comes to handling, no boat has looked better on the water, wind or no wind, than this Budweiser has in its last two outings yesterday and today. But the real action, of course, was for second. And J.W. Myers is, I know that Chip is high on him as well as I am. This is a good driver who's showing me some great moves in his sophomore year.
You know, Steve Hook started to make a run on him, but the Lumar and Ken Muscatel were just running so hot and so fast, he finally decided to settle back and take that 4th place.
And I think he had the power to catch him if he wanted to. That's just smart driving. It's a long race.
Absolutely.
Anything can happen. Let it come to you.
The other thing you have to remember is Steve Hook won yesterday, so he had a lot of points. He doesn't need to really do all that much today because he got that 1st place yesterday. So what he needs is some, 3rd, 4th place finishes. He's in the final.
Well, that Black Miss Rock and Ken Muscatel just showed you the best heat of racing in Ken's career.
That's absolutely right.
And I'm sure that whole team is excited about it. The Budweiser, it may seem like they win all the time, and it just comes with the territory and that they don't get excited. But they're happy in this, their swan song year. Let's go down to Bill Rocky in the Budweiser camp.
I'm with Joe Little here, and Joe, you're 2 for 2 so far. It's rough out there, though, isn't it?
I tell you, it's real rough. And we talked about the weather all weekend. I heard that it was going to be windy today, and I tell you, it really gives us an advantage. Dave and the boat ride so well in rough water. I think you've seen that in the past, and the wind blows, it gives us a definite advantage.
And we've all been talking about Dave's getting great starts.
He's an expert at it, and I don't think there's anybody any better.
All right, thanks, Joe. Steve?
Bill Rocky with Joe Little and the Budweiser team. And again, that crew just swarms all over that boat. They will talk to Dave, as will all the drivers. Chip, when they come back in, first thing they do is talk to their teammates, talk to their crew chiefs, find out what the boat is doing.
It's a debriefing, and what the driver has to do is be able to communicate to the crew what the boat needs. It's not good enough to come in and say the boat doesn't feel good, because the guys don't know what to do with that. You got to be very specific and say, I'm having trouble at the end of the straightaway, I'm having trouble through the corner, so they know where to work.
And quite a picture we can see here. And let me tell Doug, our director, Doug, if you can get a camera on it. While the Budweiser, the winning boat, has just come in, we see the Lumar, the MCOR boat, upside down, right in front of the pits now, has been literally towed in to the pit area. And it is the boat that Nate Brown, of course, went over in just a little bit earlier. Bill Rocky now has the winning driver, Dave Vilwach.
All right, thanks, Steve. Dave, what's it like out there? You got 2 wins.
Well, it's nice and rough, and I'm kind of liking it. So I think the wind chop's actually knocking down some of the roller action that we've seen here in the past. So that was good, having to get a good start, and the boat ran good over the water. So that's what we're hoping for. We're hoping for some wind, and I think we got it today. I think Bernie's up there blowing right now. Bernie's up there blowing as hard as he can.
We've all been talking about your starts. They're letting you get that inside, aren't they?
Well, I think everybody knows that it's pretty rough right now, and it's a preliminary heat, and so J-Dub and I were running around together there for a while, and and I think people just want to be safe and get a good lane and then go from there.
How was that turn up there where Nate flipped? What's it like?
It's pretty rough, but it's pretty rough all over. The wind's blowing in from that side. It's going to lift that right sponson. So, but I don't know that the wind had anything to do with that accident. I think it was probably rooster tails and skid pins that looked like me on TV.
All right, Dave, keep it going. Good day so far. Dave Vilwach, he's got 2 wins.
All right, Bill Rocky, and Gart Swanson's in the pits as well. Gart?
Hey, Steve Hook, being the rookie, you're stuck out there in lane 5. Kind of nice to get that heat out of the way. Now you can go for broke in the next heat.
Yeah, we're sitting all right with points because of our heat victory yesterday. I got early word that there was a buoy hit by Ken, so settled back and run the boat. And, after watching Nate go arm, thank God he's all right. Everybody's just kind of getting the points out of the way on that one, and we'll go back to work in the next heat.
You told me a little earlier today that yesterday you were a little bounced around a little bit. You're a little sore getting into the cockpit today. It was calm, relatively calm yesterday. Today, everybody's bouncing. Are you a little sore right now after that heat?
I think I need to get loosened up a little bit. I was pretty stiff when I got here this morning. It's really not that bad out there. There's a couple rollers in the backstretch, but you stay on top of it. It's not too bad. Looks probably worse from here.
Beacon boat, you like the way it's running?
Yeah, thank God for Beacon Plumbing. We got a pretty good boat ride for the weekend. Like I said, we're just kind of getting our points now, and we'll come out firing later on in the day.
All right, good luck the rest of the way.
Thanks a lot.
All right, let's send it over to Greg England, who's on the other side of the pits. Greg?
Yeah, hi, I'm here with Dr. Ken Muscatel, and would you say this was your most aggressive race out there that you've been?
We just need a boat ride, and we can go race. That's all we need is a boat ride. So, that's what I've been waiting for a long time. And when I have a boat that I can race, you can go out racing. If you can race in this water, you can race anywhere.
When you got off that boat, you told me you had fun, but you aged about 10 years. What did that mean?
Makes me 120 years old.
What about the buoy hit there? I know you don't lose any points there, but it was a problem yesterday, too. What happened there?
Just trying to, keep inside Dave. The water's really nasty, and keep J-Dub out and go racing. I mean, it's, that's their story, and they're sticking to it.
Well, you're having some fun. That was a great heat for you, and you're in good position as we head towards a little closer to the final.
What actually happened? Did they just fine, or they dock me a position?
Well, I haven't heard yet from, I don't think, they were saying in the booth they didn't think that you were going to be, no foul. You were not penalized there. So, good news all the way around, right?
Just living right.
We're living right down here with the silver dollar, guys.
That's always interesting when the driver finds out from the reporter out on the finger pier whether or not he's been fined or penalized or not. We'll have much more on this race as well as what all has gone on in this day of racing. But take a look at your results as we have them from Heat 2B. And, of course, the Budweiser boat coming in on top. Great race run by the Silver Dollar Casino in third. There's the Lumar window film, the Beacon, Plumbing, and then the Skyway Park Bowl. They did not start. More racing when we come back. You're watching live coverage of the Chevrolet Cup at Seafair.
Heat 2B of the Chevrolet Cup at Seafair has been brought to you by Netscape, low-cost internet service. Netscape, just the net you need. And is presented for Seafair by Tide. If it's got to be clean, it's got to be Tide.
I think we should sometime, though.
And here we are with the winner of Heat 2B, and it's a very familiar sight out here on this race course as well as on limited courses all around the country, and that is the beer wagon, the big red machine. Miss Budweiser wins going away, but the real race in Heat 2B was for second and third. We also understand now there has been a penalty assessed, Chip.
Yeah, first it looked like he didn't dislodge the buoy, but apparently he did. And what can happen is when you first hit the buoy, if you don't hit it strong enough, and it doesn't go away until a lap later, and then it deflates, and then it no longer is a course marker, and you're assessed the penalty. And apparently that's what happened.
To Ken Muscatel.
To Ken Muscatel. And it's too bad because both times he's tried to be aggressive and go inside. Yesterday and today, he's hit not only a buoy, I think he hit the same buoy both times.
Well, and it's fun to watch Ken go for it like that, so we'll cheer him on and hope that he continues to be aggressive.
Right, and he made a really good point, and I think he's being a little defensive there because everybody said, well, Ken's not an aggressive driver, but I think what he was saying to us there is, hey, I've never had a boat that handled well enough that I could be aggressive, and now I've got a boat, so watch out.
Well, they're taking a look at skid fin and all the rest on the Taste of the Tropics boat. Meantime, here is the boat, obviously, that broke earlier. This is the Miss MCOR boat that went over with Nate Brown aboard, and we'll get a better idea of all the damage. But you can see, Chip, as you look at it, what do you see?
Well, I think Mike Weber made a good point. If you can see, the bottom of the boat is the backbone, and if there's a break in that piece of aluminum on the bottom, then the boat's broken. There's no way around it. If you flip the boat over and the bottom is in perfect shape, but some wings are gone or the deck is gone, that's fixable. But if this bottom, which is what you're looking at now, you're seeing the propeller shaft here, the propeller is right back here. If that's intact, you can fix the boat. And from this angle, it looks like it's intact from what I can see, but until you get them look at it close, it's hard to tell.
Is it a point that, as you mentioned earlier, kind of corkscrews in? We remember when Mark Evans went over and came back and won in that boat, but he went straight over, nice flat and flat down onto the top.
Right. It's kind of like, loading the boat on one corner of it. If it lands flat, you're distributing that impact over 28 feet. If it lands on one corner of the boat, then you're loading the boat, what they call it, point loading. It takes all the impact in a very small area and does more damage.
Well, there you see the thousands of people, and we're talking hundreds of thousands out here along the shores of Lake Washington watching today's Chevrolet Cup, as well as the air show. The Blue Angels will be coming in soon over the race course. In fact, there they are, pilots on board, getting ready to roll out at Boeing Field. We will have the Navy Blue Angels in just a few minutes. You're watching the Chevrolet Cup at Seafair on KIRO 7. And And we're back to racing Heat 2A, actually the restart of Heat 2A, and it restarted because of the MCOR boat went over, damaged, will not return. Nate Brown, though, is all right. The Alberto boat, the sausage boat, how will they do? They're a pretty fast boat today. Let's see if Steve David keeps that one on the water. And the Miss Elam is on track. The orange boat buckling in, ready to go racing in Heat 2A.
Heat 2A of the Chevrolet Cup at Seafair is brought to you by Oh Boy Oberto Beef Jerky. Taste what's real. It better be Oberto. And is presented for Seafair by 76. Quality Pro Clean Gasolines.
And let's get right to the lineups. As you see, the boats are still scoring up with a little more than a minute to go.
As we watch them come up, we have a number of wakes in that south turn they just left there that we're going to watch as they come in there for the first time under racing speed, because that flotilla of boats that has returned to the logboom has left some alien wakes in that area, and so there's a lot of chop down there in addition to that which was already there. So we're going to have to be very, very careful about getting through that first turn, and I know it's going to be kind of quick down there, so we'll watch that and be sure they get through there all right. Right at the moment, again, they were just a tad to the early side, Chip. Colors came up a little too fast.
But they've got it pretty much corrected. They're about 5 seconds early, but they can scrub that off. And it looks like Terry Troxel is going to be in lane 2. And the way that boat's running, I think that should be a great place for him to be.
It will be Greg Hopp in lane number 1. It'll be Terry Troxel in lane number 2. It appears as they come around the arc. Steve David in the Oh Boy Alberto in lane number 3. And J. Michael Kelly on the outside in the Seattle boat presents Graham Trucking. They're coming to the line, and their timing is a little quick. They're going to have to back down just a little bit.
Look at the rookie.
Troxel may be too soon. Troxel may be too soon. We may have 3 of them too soon.
I think our rookie might have just won himself a heat, because I think the first 3 boats are over, and our rookie, who I pointed out there on the far outside, J. Michael Kelly, might be the only legal boat.
I think you're right, Chip.
That appears to be the case indeed, and all 3 of those guys were just too quick.
You know, we talked about earlier in the day that the veterans seem to be making mistakes, and the rookies seem to be shining bright, and here we go again.
Now, this race basically is for second place from here on out, because J. Michael Kelly knows, he's been radioed, you're the legal guy, so you don't have to do any racing out here. Just don't let anybody go by you. They got 3/4 of a course to do that. And so that means that Terry Troxel, having made that mistake, is going to have to drive very, very quickly in order to stay out front and pick up second place points. Right behind him, Greg Hopp across the line at the end of lap number 1, and Steve David is 3rd across the line.
But there's our leader, J. Michael Kelly, and what he showed, so much poise, because he had 3 guys inside of him. He had 3 guys way out in front of him, and most rookies would go, well, I must be wrong. Everybody else must be right. But he believed in himself. He stayed back, and right now he's going to win an unlimited hydroplane heat at Seafair.
And Chip, that's a famous sort of a move that the pros make on the rookies, try to get them to think that they'd forgotten to do something, and he didn't buy it, not for a second. And Troxel, unfortunately, tried to push him with it, so did Steve David, and they're both paying for it. Troxel out front physically, running second place, in fact, on the race course. He comes down after a first lap of 138.7 miles an hour. Let's see how he does on this one. He comes down at a little faster speed of 140.094, the fastest lap so far on Lake Washington this afternoon.
And it's all for nothing, and that's what a driver brings. As a driver, you can have the fastest boat in the world, but if you don't use your head, if you don't think for yourself, it's all for nothing. And here's a young guy who grew up racing outboards here in Seattle in the Seattle Outboard Association, who at 25 years of age had enough poise to let the veterans step all over themselves, and he's going to win.
Terry Troxel down the back chute, well out in front of everybody else, except that he's physically in second place, way behind the first place boat, which is J. Michael Kelly in the Seattle boat, presents Graham Trucking. Troxel, of course, trying to keep some distance from the other 2 boats. Right now, Stephen David in 3rd and 4th. We've got a good battle in the north turn. Stephen David on the inside and Greg Hopp on the outside, but we just had the center buoy of the upper pin, the entrance buoy, rather, of the upper turn has been struck, and it appears Steve David was the guy who did it, so he may be incurring the wrath of the officials a second time here.
I mean, let's think about this for a minute. We had Ken Muscatel, an old veteran, make a mistake. We've had Troxel make a couple of mistakes. We had Nate Brown go over. And the rookies are shining bright here and staying out of trouble. And in the final heat, you keep thinking like that, driving your own race, you could find yourself with a Chevrolet Cup real easy.
One more lap to go now for the U2, the Graham Trucking. We've got the Elam Plus coming out of the north corner and the Oberto heading in. It was the center pin of the north turn and not the entrance pin, but it's gone, and there's going to be a penalty paid for that.
That's called the apex pin, and that's usually the one that gets struck because that's the center of the corner. That's where you start heading the other direction, and that's the one the guys really cut close.
And Stephen David has been assessed another lap penalty as a result of that, so he's not having a very good day out here on Lake Washington at all.
You know,
but Mr. Kelly certainly is.
He is, and you know, I have never seen J. Michael drive a boat before, but for the last few weeks, I have heard from people that I truly believe in as a great judge of talent say that this kid is something special, and he just showed me that he can think for himself.
Here's your winner, the checkered flag out for J. Michael Kelly driving Seattle Boat presents Graham Trucking, a second rookie victory on Lake Washington in this Chevrolet Cup.
You know, I talked to our statistician this morning, and I said, you know, it might be fun to keep track of the 3 veterans that we have here and 3 rookies we have here. At the end of the day, let's see who's got the most points. So maybe we're kind of keeping an informal log here of how many points the rookies have garnered versus the veterans, and this may be the changing of the guard we're witnessing here.
All right, your third place boat across the line now is the U100. That's the Fairweather Sports presents the Toyota of Kirkland. Greg Hopp gets third place points, and going around one more time is number 6, the old boy Oberto.
You know, Chip and Mike, at the beginning of the day, we said that Heat 2A might be the most exciting heat of the day. Well, in the end, in the first try at running it, Nate Brown went upside down, and then we had 3 boats jump the gun in the rerun, and we had one boat hit a buoy. Everything that could happen has happened here in 2A of the 2004 Chevrolet Cup at Seafair.
Well, there you see the Seattle Boats, Graham Trucking with the youngster, J. Michael Kelly, the 1998 grad. I've got shoes that old. 1998 grad of Kent Meridian High School, and he's out here winning heats in the unlimited hydroplanes as some of the veteran drivers are still finishing up their laps. What a thrill this must be for a young driver and for a veteran boat owner like Jim Harvey. Our Greg England has been in the pits with that team. Is he there ready to go with Jim?
We're right here with Jim Harvey. By the way, he's the man that decided to hand over a $400,000 boat to a 25-year-old rookie. You made the right call, it looks like.
Well, when I first did it a week, 2 weeks ago, there was some apprehension, but there isn't anymore. This boy's a boat racer, and we're proud to be part of it. It being our organization, and who would have thunk? I mean, you know, yesterday the boat ride was terrible, and today it settled down, and I thought we actually broke on the start because we were going so slow, but it was his timing. It was perfect, right on.
That says a lot about Mike. That shows some poise there, doesn't it?
Well, I guess if he's been racing since 9 years old, you know, and he's 25 now, that he had to learn something along the way, and apparently he learned how to start.
And he said he just started feeling comfortable really this morning, didn't he?
Yeah. Yeah. I got to see this. Hold on just a second.
Go ahead. Go enjoy it with your crew, Jim. You guys deserve it. Absolutely.
We got to teach him how to park the boat. But other than that, you know, I think Jim Harvey will let him off on that.
And how much of a thrill is that for, not only for Jim Harvey, but certainly for J. Michael?
But you know, a real racer, I'll bet you he's not all that excited, because a real racer doesn't get that excited about winning an elimination heat. I think this kid thinks about winning the whole thing, and I think he's happy, but more than not, I think he's thinking about the final. He's that kind of racer.
You made mention that he came pretty much right out of outboards, almost directly over to unlimited.
He did. The typical path is to be in outboards for 5 to 10 years and then go to the lights or the limited inboards for 5 to 10 years, but he spent very little time in the limited inboards or the lights. He went directly from outboards pretty much to the unlimited, and that means some people really saw something special here.
success right there.
While there's lots of congratulations going on that finger pier and with that boat and driver, what are the other boat owners and crew chiefs saying to the other drivers in this race?
Well, you know, they've got some egg on their face here. We're seeing veterans making a lot of mistakes. A lot of years you and I have sat here and said, well, there's a rookie mistake, but he'll learn not to do that. But look who's shining bright here. It's the young guys.
Well, let's hear from that young guy right there, J. Michael Kelly. He's with our Greg England.
Well, he's getting some work on, you know, you need some veteran help trying to get that helmet off here, huh? Hey, it's hot. Hey, that was a hot run for you. You weren't fooled by the old veterans coming off the start there.
I saw them coming up early, and I held back, and I knew right away they were going to be early, so I just radioed back to my guy and, you know, just make sure, and sure enough, they did.
We talked this morning about when you were a kid. Of course, you grew up in Kent. You live in Puyallup now. You watched Seafair as a kid. What does it mean to you to come out here and get a heat win?
It's pretty awesome. Never in a million years did I ever think that this would be possible, and just to have this opportunity, it's awesome.
A great team here. You got an owner that trusting a 25-year-old guy with this big, expensive boat. Talk about your team here and how hard you guys have worked to get together in just a couple weeks' time.
Oh, this team, I can't say enough for this team. This team's awesome. You know, at the shop and out of the shop, these guys are fun to hang with, and without the guys, this wouldn't be possible. We wouldn't be out there. So, and same with our sponsors.
What do you think it says about some of the rookie guys doing well out here? We had a win yesterday for Steve. You get a win today. The young guys are hanging pretty well with some of the veterans. It's good for the sport, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. You know, I can't, you know, I don't know what to say. It's pretty cool. So.
It's very cool. Congratulations, guys. Back to you.
He'll learn to talk, believe me, folks. The hardest part is he knows how to drive. Give him some time, and he'll be knocking these interviews down, too. But I'm sure he's pretty much overwhelmed by all of this.
Well, I'm certain he is, and well, he should be. And there's also some other conversation going on in other pits, and our guard Swanson has Terry Troxell to talk about what happened to some of the veteran drivers. Guard?
Question you right off the bat is what happened at the start? A little aggressive there, huh? 3 boats going right to the start.
I guess. I mean, I thought we were right there, but they said we were over, so we're over.
And then once that happened, you knew you got dinged a lap. Was it just about keeping in second place and just getting the points?
I think it's a 1 minute penalty, and we're trying to get the 1 minute penalty back if we could.
But you still got the points.
Right. So we got the second place points. That's good for us. We wanted the win, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So it feels pretty good?
Yeah, it feels good, okay. Because now Mr. Bernard Lill, he can look down and see a good race. And then Mr. Ole Bardal, he take care about the God of the thunder and God of the wind and looking down at us too, okay?
You're just kind of playing it safe right now, getting through these heats, choppy water, and staying afloat.
Yeah, we went first and second, so we got 2 seconds. So we're on our way.
All right, good luck the rest of the way. Guys, back to you in the booth.
All right, guard, thanks very much. Bill Rocky also in the pits. Bill, what do you have?
We're here with Steve David with some wild vintage boats going out here. Steve, that was a tough heat for you. First of all, the start.
Yeah, we thought, you know, the 3 of us across, we thought we pretty much nailed it, but I guess the photo must have shown we were a little over.
Right. And then you hit a buoy.
Yeah, I had no room to go. That blue boat kind of pushed me to the inside, and it was hit a buoy or take him out, and I chose the softer object.
So the way this is going, you need some points, don't you?
It's got a tough day on the Alberto. Yeah, we got to win a heat, or we're gonna have to win the Connie to get the Alberto to the final.
All right, Steve. Good luck the rest of the way. Steve, let's go back up to you.
All right, thanks very much, guard, or Bill Rocky, that is. And we take a look at the unofficial results as the boats again, the vintage boats are heading out to the water. That's the noise you hear. We were all looking around. Here's your unofficial results with the Seattle boats, Graham Trucking, and J. Michael Kelly, the rookie, unofficially the winner of Heat 2A.
Heat 2A of the Chevrolet Cup at Seafair has been brought to you by Oh Boy Oberto Beef Jerky. Taste what's real. It better be Oberto.
Well, here's the instant replay of Heat 2A that again was restarted because of the blowover by the M-Corps boat and Nate Brown. And you saw not hitting the start were all the veterans, all ahead. They're all penalized, and there is your winner. The Graham Trucking boat cheers along the beach for the rookie, J. Michael Kelly, who climbs out from the Seattle boats Graham Trucking, a winner in Heat 2A. Now as we come back to live action, out on the race course here under sunny blue skies, some of the most beautiful figures you will ever see cutting the waters here on Lake Washington, and they are the old piston-powered, the great traditional boats. And I'm going to let Chip Hanauer and Pat O'Day and Mike talk about these boats. Chip, you were in one of those boats.
Well, there's one boat, the blue boat, the Atlas Van Lines. That was the boat that was built after Bill Muncie was tragically killed in 1981 in Acapulco, Mexico. I was hired to drive the boat for the Muncie family, and we went on. That's not the boat there. That's actually an older, what they call a round nose boat. There's the Atlas Van Lines boat that was built after Bill Muncie's death, and we went on to win my first national championship and my first Gold Cup. And it's sitting next to its right, a Budweiser boat that was driven by Dean Chenoweth. And unfortunately, Dean Chenoweth was killed in this boat. And what's significant about this other Budweiser boat is it was powered by a Rolls-Royce Griffin. And what we were so proud of in the Atlas boat, this is the Budweiser right there. Oh, I'm sorry, that's me yesterday.
Yes, it is.
Driving the boat here with my head sticking up there with the Budweiser. And I can't tell you what a thrill it was to not just drive the boat, but to look over there and see that Griffin Budweiser, who was driven by two of the drivers that I think were the best I ever drove against, which was Dean Chenoweth and Jim Cropfield. And the only thing that would have made that day, yesterday, even more special, if I could have looked across and seen Jim Cropfield driving that boat, because I raced him so hard. And so that was a real magic day for me yesterday.
Mike Fitzsimmons, Pat O'Day at the start-finish line. You remember those great races. You remember these great boats. This is always a treat to see these old boats out here on the water.
Oh, it absolutely is. And you're looking at Hawaii Kai right now, which is actually a replica. Chip Hanauer also drove this boat when it was the Hewling brothers back in 1976, when he was a completely ignorable rookie.
Oh, I'm still ignorable completely.
And everybody overlooked him to their own peril, because even though he had no power to get to the start-finish line, he got there just like the rookies are doing today, and taught some lessons to some of the veterans in those days, Pat.
You know, I want to tell you something about that blue boat and the Budweiser out there. Dean Chenoweth, the late Dean, had things all his way, and he had a shock because it was in Detroit that Chip really let that boat go, that blue boat, and Chip won the Gold Cup in Detroit in that boat and beat Dean Chenoweth and shocked the Budweiser
That's
camp.
exactly what happened, and with that Merlin, which was underpowered comparatively, and also Chip drove the boat literally at the bitter edge the whole way. It scared the devil out of most of us watching.
Well, everyone thought it was Annie over for the Merlin versus the Griffin, and Lucero put that all together, and Chip drove it so beautifully and just shocked the Budweiser camp in Detroit when they captured the Gold Cup.
Yeah, it was just the most magical day in my racing life to have won the Gold Cup in Detroit, driving for the Muncie family like 9 months after the death of Bill Muncie. It was just magic, and I could have ended my career right there and gone to my grave a happy man.
As we look at those old round-nose boats, we remember that's the way the sport began. All the boats looked just like that. They had the circular bow. They were more narrow, had the high tail in the rear. They bounced, they jerked. They didn't have the big skid fins, so they couldn't throw the water and hook through a corner. They would have to slow down a great deal. When did the skid fin come into play, Chip?
Well, they got big here just not maybe 4 or 5 years ago, but the vintage boats are great, and I think we're ready to go to a break here.
We are indeed. We're going to look at these boats as they continue to work their way back to the pits, these spectacular boats. Chip Hanauer, actually, you're one of the few guys that was able to make that crossover to go from the open cockpit racing and then move into the closed cockpit.
And I was the first guy to wear seat belts, and today, of course, everybody's buckled in, and so, yeah, there was a lot of firsts for me. I was the guinea pig for a lot of things, well, including this broadcast.
And you're here to talk about it, and
right.
That maybe is the greatest thing of all, because as you've noted, all of you guys have noted, perhaps the greatest drivers of all down through the years, there are very few of them still with us to be able to talk about the sport. And Chip, you are, and we're all thankful for that.
Thank you.
So we've got much more racing ahead. It's always great to see the vintage boats out there. It's been a treat. We've got more air show. And what we're going to do when we come back is take a look at some of the unlimited light racing from yesterday. Always close, always exciting, the unlimited lights. We'll be back with that after this.